Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com with match number 4 in the Modern Festival qualifier with Soul Sisters. This one I believe is going to be versus Anafenza and company. So this is a decent hand versus the plethora of decks out in Modern. We have a first turn Ascendant into a second turn Auriok Champion. Of course, this would have been... This is the one in True Drop that is ideal in Soul Sisters, but it's fine. So any sort of damage-based deck, we have a great strategy. Like this would go against Burn, they'd have to bolt off a Serra Ascendant, and then the Auriok Champion is free to just gain a lot of life. So it's going to be Verdant Catacomb, and our opponent plays a Temple Garden. And I'm thinking Boggles again, but it's a Birds of Paradise, which is not Boggles. I'm liking this because again, Soul Sisters typically does very well against creature-based decks. And Anafenza and company is no birthing pod deck. It is a deck that wants to have a lot of 3 mana casting cost cards and then combo with the Anafenza or Malera combo. What made pod so good is it had the potential to combo off, but most of the time pod, especially by the end of pod, it was really about getting as many rhinos out as possible. And then you can even sacrifice your rhinos for 5 drops, and you're occasionally even seeing 6 drops in the birthing pod strategy. And the more cards printed from each set, the more powerful birthing pod strategies became, until eventually they had to get to the point where they had to ban birthing pod. And it just was such a toolbox deck. You could find any card for the situation. Anafenza Company is not quite that deck. It reminds me a lot of the birthing pod decks at the very first of when Birthing Pod entered into Modern, which weren't as streamlined, that were all about getting the combo. Now, we can start off again with Serra Ascendant. I believe my opponent did have to mulligan quite aggressively. And he has a Spellskite, which with my hand, Spellskite is very annoying. He misses a land drop, so we know we're pretty... it'd be a pretty bad move just to Path X off a Spellskite. So I'll just Auriok Champion here and get in for the Serra Ascendant, at least get that lifelink damage. So now if he casts another card, at least I'm going to get a life out of it. And he finds another Spellskite, which is very redundant at this point. But again, see what I mean? Birthing Pod usually didn't use Spellskites. What it used was any other value-based cards. This is really trying to protect a combo. And if you don't have the combo pieces, then your deck can just kind of dirtle and not really do much. And you're seeing one of those draws. Again, I do admit there was a aggressive mulliganing happening. So Windbrisk Heights is going to be unfortunate here because it's going to come and play tapped. But a Giant's Pridemate's a fine play, as we can throw it out and it will immediately get a counter on it. And it's going to get another counter when the Serra Ascendant is blocked. So that's what ends up happening here. And our opponent does draw into his Force Source. So I'm thinking that it's going to be Collected Company. But it's just going to be a Court of Calling into an Orzhov Pontiff, which destroys both my Auriok Champion and my Serra Ascendant. So he does find the answer, but he had to blow a Court of Calling to find an answer rather than try to get towards the combo, which isn't what you want to be doing in Anafenza and company. You don't want to be playing the defensive route. So another Windbrisk Heights. Eventually when the Spectral Procession comes out, these will be great cards. Only find an Auriok Champion underneath, but it's still a card underneath. A land that can turn into a card is very, very good. I love Windbrisk Heights. I occasionally see Soul Sisters decks without using Windbrisk Heights. Highly disagree with that. It is an amazing card that comes into play tap, does sit you back every now and again, but it's not that big of a deal for the potential upside to, look at this, having a Ranger, having a 4-drop underneath a land. So I'm going to be able to attack him for 5. He decides to chump block with Orzhov Pontiff and put it on a Spellskite, so now if this Spellskite dies, he can wipe at least most of my board, most of the spirit tokens, with the Haunt effect from the Orzhov Pontiff. So, anywho, only one card in hand, and now he's hitting every land drop in the world. So I do feel bad for my opponent. I hate it when that happens, when you get stuck on lands and then start finding way too many when you have enough. I can just start getting in here for the spirits and the Pridemate. He has to throw a Spellskite underneath the Pridemate, which means the spirits will die. Which is fine. We had to get it out of there eventually. I'm not going to Path to Exile it again. I'm going to save the Path to Exile for the combo. There's no point in overextending here or trying to be impatient. So it does just kill 3 spirit tokens. Not that bad, and we're able to put out an Auriok Champion and a Ranger and be in just as good of a board position as we were before the haunt occurred and the spirits died. So here he's going to Court of Calling again and finds a Feed Hunter to take care of my Ajani's Pridemate. This is where Path to Exile can be pretty good, but with 0 cards left in hand, I just think that we just need to take care of any sort of combo rather than worry about getting Ajani's Pridemate back. So he's going to be able to get Eternal Witness and a Court of Calling, which is a nice value card that he can go grab another piece if we allow him to get there. Here we can put out a Plains, and a Serra's Ascendant will be 6/6s, so that's what I decided to do. And then attacking with the Ranger. And if he wants to put the Eternal Witness in front of the Ranger, I'm okay with that play too, because it's 1 less mana for the Court of Calling that's in his hand. And you never know when that's going to become the difference or not to getting comboed off. Alrighty, so speaking of a card, I have played an Angel of Jubilation tested. I have some videos I might release of my testing of Angel of Jubilation. It says your opponent cannot sacrifice cards to pay for abilities, and it seems to be a pretty decent card versus Anafenza and company, shutting down the combo with the Serra Seer. But ultimately, I thought that Angel of Jubilation was not nearly as powerful as like Archangel of Thune, and advised against playing it. Here, though, I will end a turn Path to Exile off the Fiend Hunter, which does allow him to get a land, but now my Pridemate will immediately get some counters on it, and then when I cast another Spectral Procession here, I know that he's going to be in range of having to block with both guys, and then too far behind even with the Court of Calling. So he does scoop, and we'll go on to the next match here. Alrighty, so this one I decided to keep because I know I'm going up against Anafenza and company now here, and I just put out a Soul Attendant, and if I can draw a card within the next few turns and still be okay. Wall of Roots comes out, I gain a life, and I look out and do find that land. However, it is not a land that can lead toward the Ajani's Pridemate, but it is a Serra's Ascendant nonetheless, which means the Ajani's Pridemate is going to get 2 counters most likely next turn. So here I get another Windbrisk Heights and find a Spectral Procession under it. So an Archangel of Thune and a Spectral Processions underneath a Windbrisk Heights is huge. Those are 2 of the best cards that you can get under the Windbrisk Heights, which then allows me to put out a Ajani's Pridemate. And I most likely should not have attacked here, just in case there is something up his sleeve, some sort of flash card. And he does decide to Court of Calling for 2 for Scavenging Ooze and take care of my Serra Ascendant. So, bit of a bad move on my part. Other than that, it does get rid of one of his combo pieces with the Court of Calling. They use that to usually assemble the combo. Here he gets a Verdant Catacomb to find a Overrun Tomb, which is he's in range now for the Gavany Township to start pumping up all of his dudes, which is one way that this deck, the way the pod decks were by the end of pod getting banned, we're using a lot of Gavany Townships as well. Very, very powerful card. If I was to splash for green in, I've been trying to have a few different versions for Soul Sisters, and I think green is a potential one. I do like, there's a few cards I like out of green. One of them is Dramoka's Command, and another one is Court of Calling, or not Court of Calling, is the Gavany Township. And Scavenging Ooze actually is really good for a Soul Sisters type build. So these are 2 cards, if I were to splash any color, I would consider splashing for Ooze and Gavany Township. And then taking away, I would take away Honor the Pures prior if that were the case to make room for the Oozes. And then you have the green white land that you can sacrifice, the Grove of the, not Grove of the Burnwills, but last video we saw it with the Boggles. Anyway, Tidal of Skolo, this isn't the best hand ever for Tideholder. He's going to find a Ranger, but he's also going to see the double on the Pure, which I don't think he wants to face down, because Gavany Township, he still has to use the mana for it, and he wants to be progressing his board. We did draw the Plains, but I will decide to Auriok Champion and Honor the Pure. And that way I can be in range of casting the Archangel and the Spectral Procession. So There's the Kitchen Finks, which pumps up my Ajani's Pridemate, and the Viserys here. So he's very close to assembling the combo. He just needs Malera, and then he can gain infinite life. Now, if he would have used that Court of Calling early to take care of my Serra's Ascendant, he would effectively have me, he would have me comboed off here right now. So again, I don't know if that was the right play for him to do that. He might have just naturally drawn into both of these and didn't expect that to happen. But when you're playing a deck like this, I think you have to really decide how you want to do this. If you want to go all out on the combo, or thinking if you have to stabilize. So here, though, we find a Windbrisk Heights, Giant's Prime underneath, and we can attack in. And depending if he blocks wrong, I can actually just kill him here. So he's going to block the Ooze, block with the Kitchen Finks, and here I will Archangel of Thune, as well as Spectral Procession, which is going to make all of my cards, since they're triggering all the abilities off of the Archangel of Thune, it's going to look at my cards just go crazy in counters. And wish Ajani's probably had Trample. Oh man, but I don't quite get it up to lethal though, as the Auriok Champion is unblocked. He goes down to A2, and then this pumps everything back up when the Kitchen Fiend comes back into play. And he's got one turn to draw into Court of Calling or a Malera, and he does not get it, and that is a game. So the game, we're going into the last round with a 3-1. We need to hit a 4-1 to get qualified, and we'll go on to that match. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.